Hello and welcome to the Best Football Show with Brian Baldinger. I'm Baldy at NFL, at Baldy NFL across all the social media platforms. You can find me there like a lot of people do, coaches, players, fans, you name it. You also can get this podcast downloaded for free. Just download the Odyssey app and find the Best Football Show, like and subscribe to it. I am wide awake, fresh off a red eye from Los Angeles here. Back here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I spent the last 3 days at the Quarterback Collective Camp. That's the logo right there, out in Agora Hills, California. But we had breaking news on, I guess it was Friday or Saturday morning. Brock Purdy is the 49ers quarterback for the next 5 years. 5-year extension, $265 million. He's right there with Trevor Lawrence, with Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, he's right there with some of those guys and the average and all that kind of stuff. But the good thing is the 49ers got it done. He doesn't have to sit there and wait it out throughout this offseason. He can go out there with OTAs and the mini camps and everything that the 49ers have, and he's their quarterback. And it's interesting because the camp I was at this weekend, and I'll get to it later, but their offense coordinator, Chris Forster, offense line coach, offense coordinator, was there. And we talked a lot of football over the last 3 days. And, you know, the thing that we'll look at Brock Purdy's numbers, we'll look at, you know, is he the guy? We'll look at, you know, he dropped off last year. Why is that? You can look at all that stuff. The guy runs this offense. The offense is not easy to run. You've got to do the run game. You've got to do all the pre-play shifts and motions in every single 49er play. They have a pre-snap motion and a pre-snap shift, at least one of each. All right, George Kittle going in motion, you know, Juice going from a wing formation to an eye back. All that, he's got to handle all of that. He's got to process a ton of information. Last year, Leonard Williams destroyed them in the first quarter. Leonard Williams, defensive tackle for Seattle, they decided to just run away from him every play. That's up to Brock Purdy to get him in the formation, to get the shift, to reverse everything, to run away from Leonard Williams. This stuff that we'll never see, we'll never talk about, but he handles because of his study habits and his preparation. So Brock Purdy got the guy. And look, we knew that there was going to be some cord cutting in San Francisco this year. Dre Greenlaw, you know, Talanoa Hufanga, Jalen Moore, Aaron Banks. We knew that they weren't going to be able to keep all the Deebo Samuel traded. They just weren't going to be able to keep a lot of the guys that they wanted to keep. I mean, Deebo's been a big part of their success. They'd love to have kept him. Once you start paying the quarterback, you know, the $50-something million guaranteed a year, it eats into your salary cap. They were fortunate over the last 3 years to have Brock Purdy on the Mr. Irrelevant 7th-round rookie contract, you know, where they basically paid him, you know, $1 million a year, and all of a sudden you jump to $53 million a year. Guys got to go. That's just the price of doing business. They had to do the same thing, you know, in a lot of different places, but they kept a lot of good players, you know, and I hear that right now there's a contract extension for Fred Warner being worked on. So they're going to still try to keep their star players, but they got Brock Purdy done. Now, it doesn't guarantee anything. They got Trevor Lawrence done last year in Jacksonville, and he wasn't good last year. And there's a coaching change that happened. So, and, you know, but they've had to make changes to coaches, you know. They've had to make changes to personnel. But the good thing is, I believe, for 49er fans, they got their quarterback. All right, so we got that taken care of. In Philadelphia, there's a lot of extensions and contracts being worked out. Nick Sirianni is in the works to have an extension completed. We don't know the numbers yet on this Monday morning, May 19th, as I record this. Not exactly sure what the extension is, but when you win a Super Bowl, you go to 2 Super Bowls, you lose one, you win one, you deserve an extension. So congratulations, Nick Sirianni. And I talked to some coaches, some Eagle coaches at this quarterback collective in California. And I asked them about Nick. I go, is he just – they said, look, he's emotional. But, man, he is all about the team. Some of the stuff he does to basically hype up his players, some of the stuff he does with fans, like it seems a little immature at times, but it's all for the better of the team. And they did not – they didn't start off great this year. They were 2-2. When they hit their bye week, they got blown out by Tampa. They narrowly beat the New Orleans Saints. They lost to the Falcons at the end. It wasn't a great start to the Eagles, but they got the bye week and they really kind of fixed some things. And they really said, and look, the organization of the Eagles is a heavy analytical team. They believe in the passing game. They believe in the fourth down, attempts. They believe in not punting at times. They believe in a lot of different things to win games. They ran the ball 725 times last year. There was a battle between some of the coaches and the front office of the Eagles. That stuff is facts. I'm not making this stuff up. But at some point you go, what's the best way to win this game? What's the best way? When you can convert at the rate they do in the tush push, when you're in 3rd and 4 in Philadelphia, most teams driven by analytics will say, throw the football. But when you have Jalen Hurts, you have Saquon Barkley, you have the tush push. On 3rd and 4, you easily can run the ball like they did last year. And if you gain 2 or if you gain 3, no matter where you're out on the field, you feel pretty good about going for 4 on 4th down. So they push back against a lot of the analytics. And I'm not saying that Jeffrey Lurie and his analytical team are wrong. I'm not. Like, I believe in a lot of the analytics. And I'm not here to say that they're wrong with their emphasis on it. But the coaches also know you got Saquon. You got the best offense line in football. You've got Jalen Hurts and his ability to run and to convert in the tush push. They ran it 725 times, the 3rd most in NFL history. So Nick Sirianni has guided all of this. He's got a new offensive coordinator that he's breaking in, a new quarterback coach that he's breaking in. When they did that off a Super Bowl loss to Kansas City, it didn't go well. They didn't get the right people in there. So we'll find out if he got people to replace Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier, guys that they lost to the New Orleans Saints. The surprise hire, honestly, was the Eagles bringing back Joe Douglas. Now, Joe Douglas, I've been friends with Joe for a long, long time. Won a Super Bowl in Baltimore. Was a big part of the Eagles' Super Bowl success in Super Bowl 52 in Minnesota, where they beat the New England Patriots. He left and went to the New York Jets, and it didn't go well. He got fired from the Jets last year. He was out of football. He's coming back to the Eagles. And I got to tell you, it's one of those moves that it shocks me, because I don't know that Joe and the Eagles left on the best of terms. Joe got a chance to go run the Jets. It didn't go well. But I'll say this. Joe Douglas is excellent at his craft. I think he really helped the front office, the Eagles, evaluating players, how they evaluated. They changed the way they evaluated players, Joe Douglas and Andy Weidel together. It was really good. You look at the Eagles drafts now, they have dramatically changed since Joe Douglas and Andy Weidel got there. I think as much credit as we want to give Howie Roseman, and he deserves a ton, he's been awesome. I think Howie learned a lot from Joe and Andy. And now Joe's coming back to the nest. And so maybe those drafts just continue, and how they stack a board and how they evaluate and how they get information from the area scouts and how they accumulate everything. They haven't missed on a lot of guys. We'll see how Jihad Campbell and, Makubu and some of the guys they drafted this year We'll see. They drafted a ton of offensive linemen, 3 offensive linemen this year. Drew Kendall, I like him. I liked all the guys. Kyle McCord. I liked all the guys they drafted this year. Joe Douglas coming back to Philadelphia. I think there had to be a little bit of, dissolving of the ego. Let's just say there was egos involved, as there always is. But Joe's coming back to Philadelphia. I think that's a really important hire for Howie to get a guy like that of his expertise and his background. He was trained for 20 years by Ozzie Newsome. You can't get better training than working for Ozzie, working for Brian Billick, working for John Harbaugh. Like you're working Eric DeCosta. Like Joe Douglas was well trained, and he's coming back to Philadelphia. Let's get to I'll give you a brief thing. I was at this camp, high school football camp in Agora Hills, California, Westlake, way north of Los Angeles this weekend for 3 days. And one of the guys that addressed the campers, there was 80 high school football players, most of them quarterbacks, but probably had 20 offensive linemen there as well. One of the speakers to the kids was the general manager of the Seattle Seahawks, John Schneider. So, John hired Mike McDonald last year, the defense coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. They made a switch at offensive coordinator this year. They brought in Clint Kubiak. And so his team was there, his assistant GM. A lot of the guys from Seattle were there. So I got a chance to talk to him. So one of the questions I asked John was, they drafted Jalen Milroe in the 3rd round. And I asked him, because the knock on Jalen Milroe isn't about his commitment to football. It isn't about his intelligence. It isn't about his athletic ability. It's about, can you improve his accuracy? Now, he wasn't bad last year. He completed 63 or 64% of his passes. But I asked him about that because we saw Josh Allen come out of Wyoming, completing 56% of his passes. And could he become the league MVP, which he did? Could Jalen Hurts improve his accuracy to the point where he wins the Super Bowl and is the Super Bowl MVP? For a long time, I didn't believe it was possible. John Schneider absolutely believes it's possible. It's footwork, it's mechanics, it's practice habits. But they don't want to take anything away from his ability to pull the ball down and run. You watch him against LSU this year. You watch him against Georgia. He just guts those 2 defenses, big-time defenses. He gutted them running the football. Just a great athlete. Honestly, the way he runs the ball, he looks like he's even a bigger and stronger Lamar Jackson. And he ran a 4.37. I don't know what Lamar runs. No, he ran a 4.47. I'm sorry. I think he ran a 4.47 40. I've got the numbers over there somewhere in my notes, but I think it's a 4.47. He's very fast. Is he Lamar fast? He's close. If he's not as fast, he's very close. But I think Seattle, 4.37 for Jalen Milroe. 4.37. I mean, it's blistering, right? It's elite at 220-something pounds. They love him. They flat out love him. They already do. He's in the building. Like, he's asking questions. They're going to have I'm telling you right now, on May 19th, Jalen Milroe's getting on the field. Like, Sam Darnold, they love. I mean, they got the right guy in Clint Kubiak's offense, very similar to what he learned in San Francisco, very similar to what he played under with Kevin O'Connell this year. Very similar. Shanahan tree, and how they get their quarterbacks, play action passes, zone stretch, run game. They're going to have something very similar. They love Jalen. I'm telling you, Jalen Milroe's getting on the field. They'll have a package for him. Like, they're going to develop this kid, and they're very, very high on him. Okay, I talked to Doug Nussmeier. He was there. His son was at the camp. His other son, Garrett Nussmeier, is the quarterback at LSU. He was at this camp 5 years ago with Caleb and Drake and Kyle McCord. He's in his last year at LSU. So he's out there watching his youngest son, I think it's Gavin Newsom. No, it's not Gavin Newsom. I think it's Gavin Newsmeyer. I don't want to confuse him with the governor of California. But his son was there as a southpaw. But he was just talking about Tyler Shuck, what they like. He said, this is probably the last year for any college quarterback to come out and play as many games as like Tyler Shuck did or Bo Nix did, or some of these quarterbacks that played 50, 60 games. Like, because that was involved, they were involved with the pandemic year. Some of them played, some of them didn't play, et cetera. So Tyler Shuck, was in college for 6 years. We probably are not going to see that. But, he learned the Oregon offense. He learned the Texas Tech offense. He learned the Louisville offense. So he learned 3 different offenses. He played a lot of football. Yeah, he had some injuries early on. But they like his size. He's got a good, it's not an elite arm, but it's a good arm. The motion's a little bit loopy. They think they could tighten it up. But he processes really well. They like that aspect to it. Experience, processing, size, athletic ability. That's what they liked about Tyler Shuck. Now they're going to let him and Spencer Rattler and, all the quarterbacks there, they're going to let them, Ben DiNucci, I don't know if he's still there or not. They're going to let the guys all compete. All right, so that's that. Let me just briefly get into what the quarterback collective is, and here's the logo. My friend Richmond Flowers, I've known for 20 years. His dad played in the NFL. Richmond played for the Cowboys. He played in NFL Europe. When he got done playing, he went to coach with Mike Shanahan in Washington. And back then in Washington, there was Sean McVay. There was Kyle Shanahan. He played with Kyle at Duke, and then Kyle transferred from Duke and went to Texas. They're longtime friends. Since they were 18 years old, they've been friends. They all were there in Washington. Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, all of the LaFleurs were there. Kevin O'Connell came on board. I mean, it was just this think tank of young kids wanted to learn coaching, learn the Shanahan system, all had roles there, all have gone out and done amazing things in Green Bay, Minnesota, Los Angeles, San Francisco. And then all these new coaches, Liam Cohen, all these guys coming out of McVay's system. It all comes from that. So anyways, Richmond was there coaching wide receivers, went with Kyle to San Francisco, coached wide receivers there for a point, and then just said he had 2 kids, want to spend more time with his kids. He started this quarterback collective. And what the idea was, let's get the best quarterbacks in the country to come together and get coached by the best coaches in the country. And so Kyle has coached there. McVay has coached there. Chris Furster was there this year. They had 40 coaches from around the country. Doug Nussmeier was there. Alex Van Pelt was there. Guys that have coached elite quarterbacks at the NFL level have come and now are working with these quarterbacks. And for the first time this year, they invited offensive linemen to the camp. So they had 20 linemen. So Furster and Chris Morgan and a bunch of offensive line coaches were there. Butch Berry was there. And I helped out. So, and I talked to all the offensive linemen. Some of these kids, I mean, they've already been offered by Texas and Notre Dame and USC. So they're already rising seniors, rising juniors. Some are sophomores. But you can see the size and movement already. And then you put together the talent with the elite coaching, and these kids really flourish. I was there 5 years ago, like I said, with Caleb and Drake and Garrett Nussmeier and, Kyle McCord. They were all there, 4 or 5 years ago. So come back and see some of these quarterbacks now that we'll be talking about, hopefully on this podcast. 5 or 6 years from now won't surprise me. Just looking at the size, the arm, just the understanding. Now, I didn't go in the film room with these guys like I did with Caleb and Drake and Garrett, like I did 5 or 6 years ago. So I didn't, pick their brains about it, but it's a great concept. And it was really a great experience, just picking coaches' brains, listen to the quarterbacks, ask questions with these guys, let them ask questions to a guy like John Schneider, what he's evaluating when he goes through the process of looking at quarterbacks, offensive linemen. Their first pick this year in Seattle was, Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. He's the plug-and-play left guard for him right now. But, he was able to talk about the whole process of watching him at North Dakota State, watching him at the Senior Bowl, taking him, studying him at the Combine, taking him into the evaluation room and the question-answer period at the Combine, and to the point where they felt comfortable drafting him in the first round and feel comfortable saying he's going to upgrade our left guard position, especially in Clint Kubiak's offense, where you've got to be pretty athletic to run and move and get out there on the perimeter. So that's been a busy day here on the Best Football Show. I really appreciate you joining me. We're still waiting on Aaron Rodgers news. There'll still be contract extensions. We're getting closer here to June 1st cuts, and there'll be a flood of players that will get released. We'll have all that news for you right here on the Best Football Show. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Look forward to talking to you real soon.